Back into Good Morning Maryland. It is 6:50 right now. This morning, there is another problem for workers in Maryland who've lost their jobs because of the pandemic. You'll remember many of these workers struggled for months just to get those benefits approved. Now some of them have had the benefits cut off again. This morning, WMAR 2 News' Mallory Safaste puts the story in focus and explains how these workers found out there was a problem and the long wait times to get them working again. Because if it matters to you, it's a matter for Mallory.
These people were checking out at the grocery store, filling up their cars with gas when their unemployment insurance debit cards were declined. They didn't receive any kind of advance notice, and even after submitting the necessary documents, it can take the department weeks to reactivate those cards. Robin Brown waited 26 weeks for her benefits. She finally started receiving them 3 weeks ago. Then they suddenly stopped. Did they give you any kind of advance warning before they froze your benefits?
No, I was actually trying to use the card when it kept declining.
Sean Bondroff was on his way to a job interview, and the same thing happened to him.
I went to get gas, put my card in. It didn't work. I was like, that's kind of weird.
He had to call the Department of Labor to learn he needed to provide proof of his identity.
And they said, they're doing something new called proof of ID, where they want all the claimants, because there's so much fraud going on, I guess, to submit either driver's license, social security card, passport, things of that nature. I'm like, okay, great. Go ahead, I do that.
He did it the next day. That was on March 27th. Weeks later, nothing's changed.
I pretty much called every day, getting nowhere. Nowhere at all. No one's looked at it. No one's reviewed it. They don't know when they're going to do it, anything with it, which is just upsetting.
With all the stuff that they checked during the 26-week period, I can't imagine how 3 weeks after that, they don't know who I am. It's just not making any sense to me.
Robin worked at a nonprofit for 21 years until she lost that job in September. She waited, she did what she was asked, but now it's the state delaying her benefits.
It's very, very frustrating. I don't know another word to use, and it's really putting me in a bad spot. I have bills to pay.
Back in February, Secretary of Labor Tiffany Robinson let us know they're bringing on a new vendor to automate this process.
I would say in the coming weeks.
But the contract still hasn't been signed. We asked the department why they would cut off cards without being able to quickly reactivate legitimate claimants' benefits, and why these accounts were frozen without prior notice. A spokeswoman told us if the department provided advance notice to these potentially fraudulent claimants and did not freeze their debit cards, fraudsters would be tipped off. The U.S. Department of Labor doesn't agree. According to guidance issued last week, the state's first step after a question of ID arises is to notify the individual of the issue and that ID verification is required. And while the states can pause payments they've identified as potentially fraudulent, determination needs to be timely, meaning a determination must be made no later than the end of the week following the week in which the issue is detected. And if it's not, the state must continue to pay the claim, then issue a determination as administratively feasible after payment is made. The department said they've expressed serious concerns to USDOL about several of the provisions, and they will not be implementing the new guidance until they receive additional guidance and clarification. We were also told that Sean's claim was held up because he submitted scanned documents instead of photos, and Robin only submitted a social security card that they say was illegible. But the claimants say that once you submit, you can't resubmit those documents, and they only learned about these issues after we got involved.
That is Mallory Safaste reporting that the Labor Department says it does need a photo of an original copy of a document rather than a scan because it is too easy to Photoshop scanned documents. Now, if you have a matter for Mallory, she wants to hear from you, you can email her at mallory@wmar.com or just find her on social media. She's all over Facebook and Twitter. And